iMovie has some amazing and simple tools to use for your editing process. I'm going to show you 10 really simple and easy to incorporate tools for your projects. I want you to try one or two of them, get used to them, use them in your projects consistently until they are comfortable, then come back to this video and try incorporating the next two so that you are building your skills and you can easily build up your repertoire. All of these shortcuts and things will become second nature the more you do them. But if you start with all 10 of these, you might become a little overburdened. So let's start with the simple ones. Let's start with the basics. We're going to take a look at 10 great editing tools. Rearrange. Starting with a blank project, we're going to drag in 4 clips from the media browser. I want the picture of these cathedral mountains first. That's really impressive, so I'm going to put that in the front. I clicked the clip and I dragged it over. Click and drag, click and drag. Really simple to do. You can do this with multiple clips, bringing them 3 to the beginning. This works for movie clips as well. Let's put our movie at the end and our sound clips at the bottom and even some title clips at the top. Let's get in a title screen at the beginning. As you place things, they're going to attach to the clip that they belong with. So the title is right now, it's attached to this first clip, whereas the song is attached to the second clip. When I rearrange the clips that they are attached to, the sound and the title will travel with it. So if you're really trying to stay stuck together, this is really helpful. Now let's say this first one stays first. We want our sound to start in the beginning as well. Now I can make them travel together, which is really helpful. The movies are longer. In this case, we can zoom out on our clip view here. And we can see that when we move one over, the little short clip gets bumped over to the side. Well, let's keep those in front. And let's get this beach clip back to the front. Remove from timeline. This bottom section is called your timeline. Whenever you bring something from the media browser into the timeline, you can see them happen in order. And skimming through will show you what is happening in this window up here. If you decide that this chicken picture is just not worth the attention, hit the delete key. When it deletes, it disappears from the timeline, but it stays in your media browser. So if you delete things from the bottom, they still remain up in the top. This is where all of your source information is. All of the files will stay here until you delete it from the entire project. So don't worry about deleting anything at the bottom. They will always remain at the top. This works for sound clips as well. Here is a sound clip file. I can delete it because it's not attached to anything, and it floating out in space doesn't make any sense, so delete. And it's still here to grab for later. This also works with titles. Titles must be clipped onto another screen or they will have a black frame. Either is fine here, but let's say you're working on a couple of different titles. You're trying to figure out which one you like best. The title that you like the least, just select it till it has that yellow marker around it and hit the delete key. Adjust clip length. Changing clip lengths is one of the most useful edits that you will be using in your projects. Let's bring 4 pictures down to the timeline and let's change the length. We're going to go to the end or the beginning of each clip and click and drag it over. 13 seconds, 12 seconds, 11 seconds. It tells you the length of time, both above where you're dragging and in this little gray box on the clip. Each clip has its own length of time. You can select the clip's beginning as well and drag it in and out. There's also a way to change it from the information bar up in the top right. Click this little eye and it'll say duration. Click in the box and you can change the duration with typed numbers, and that'll change the length. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. This is great for changing the length of multiple clips. You can select them all, and let's make them all 2 seconds long. Now, each of those clips are only 2 seconds long, and they will skip on by. This also applies to video clips and audio clips, which go underneath. Title clips work with this as well. Let's drag in a title clip. I want this title clip to last for only one of these clips. So let's drag the ending and bring it in. Split. Splitting clips is where you take a chunk of a clip and you split it into two. Let's say we want to take this video clip and we want to find where the wave just begins to crash over the top of the rocks, and then we're going to stop it right before I move my camera. To do this, I'm going to find the place where I want to start the clip. Then I will click in this gray area here. This leaves a playhead marker, which is great for finding very specific moments in your video. I'll find the moment right there. And then right-click or two-finger click on a trackpad and select the split clip option. The shortcut is Command B. This is a really helpful command. I highly recommend you use this one a bunch. It will speed up your editing a lot. Now I'm going to find the end, and using this shortcut, I don't even have to press in this gray area. I can just hover over the zone that I want. Let's say right around there, and I can Command B, and it splits the clip again. I can do this command over and over and over and just leave down the command button and select that Control B and just clip, 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 clip if that is what you want to do. It's great for really fast video editing. Now I'm selecting that spot and hitting the delete key, and I have the perfect size video of the wave crashing through. Trim, using R for range. The trim tool is great for finding a spot in the middle of your clip and isolating it. Instead of having to drag both ends over and finding out the exact spots here, there's a much faster way to do it. By holding down the R key, your cursor changes color and adds a little icon at the bottom, the range icon. When you hold down the R button and then using your mouse or trackpad to click and drag, you create a window that you can edit specific moments in. So if I want to capture just this wave crashing down, right click or two-finger click and then trim selection. And that captures just this one single moment in that video that you highlighted. Like with most edits, this also works with sound clips or sound bites. So if I want to take just this little snippet of the song in the middle, using the R button, highlight that section, trim selection, or you could also use the shortcut here. And then you can move it over to fit the right spot. Remove clips from project. As you're adding material into your media browser, you may have added something that doesn't really belong, and you don't really want to see it all the time. To organize your actual library here, where all of your source material information is, you can select the clip that doesn't fit. This chicken doesn't really fit inside of the camera lens picture here. I do like this one a little bit better. I like it how it is upright, but I want to get rid of this one so I stop seeing it and I don't mistake putting it in for the better picture on the side. So I can right click or two-finger clip and select delete from event. A window pops up. Deleting this file will remove it from your iMovie library. Hitting that delete button removes it from this library, but if you have it stored in another spot, for instance, I grabbed this from my Photos library, the app down below in my Photos app, it is still there. So if I ever do need to bring it back in for whatever reason, I can always do that again. If you try to delete it with the delete key, something different happens. When I hit the delete key, a red line appears on the top. This is your rejected clips button. This is for when you are trying to figure out which clips you don't want, which clips you do want, and then you can isolate things that you like or you don't like. You can also filter by favorited clips and rejected clips. So if you hit that rejected clip, only the ones that have been rejected or hit with the delete key, those will appear here. This is not the same as deleting from the library completely. Delete media from event completely gets rid of it from the project. Color balance. Color balancing makes your pictures and your videos look more appealing and clear to the viewer. Let's take this first picture, for example. I like almost everything about it except that the clouds look a little too gray, and I want to bring some of the darkness in the hills, some of these shadows, I want to bring them up a bit. So there's a couple ways to do this. One of them, if you're not really into this a whole lot yet and you're just getting started, there's a really easy button. It's right here. This is their magic wand. This will automatically improve the video and audio quality of the clip. So we're going to select this clip and then press the button. And you can see how dramatic that change was from before and after. Here's before, a lot of blues, a lot of darkness. When you click it on, those browns start to pop out. The sky clears up a bit. You can see more contrast in the water. It's just a nice picture. And if you don't like how this turned out, you can always go in and edit these color balancing options. So you can click on this color balance wheel and it'll bring up some different options here. If you're going for a balance with the white, let's say you want to go for the white, you're going to click on the whitest portion. You got the little eyedropper here and you're going to click, I'm going to find this cloud here, and that will balance to that white portion in the cloud. Or if that doesn't work, you can click into a couple of different areas, find the brightest spot in the picture, maybe down here in the water, and that's going to help adjust your image. You can also match colors if you've got prior pictures that you've already color balanced to. Let's say you want to match color to this so that they have an even transition for your colors. You can match colors between each other. And if you've got people in your picture, then you can balance to their skin tone as well. Very similar process. There's no people in my picture, so this won't really work, but I can try by clicking on this brownish, tannish area here. And you'll see how the reds start to pop out, the oranges. It'll balance to a skin tone that might be in that picture to make the skin more clear, to make the image of the person pop out against the background. But since there are no people in this picture, let's go ahead and change that back to our automatic enhancer. So I'm going to hit this X here to make all these changes, hit the reset button if you need to go back to your original picture, and then click that enhance. Moving on to our movie, I want this image here, this whole movie, to match the color that we just figured out in the image before. So I'm going to use the match color option in the top area here. It'll tell you to skim to a frame you want to match and then click to preview. So I'm going to move my cursor down to the bottom and I'm going to find a frame that I want to match that color to. If you're using the same video, then you can find a spot where your camera may have automatically focused to get better lighting, or we can go to any other part in the project by moving to another clip. I want this kind of lighting setting, so I'll click it and it made that adjustment to the right portion of our screen. We can go on and off. Let's see it off and back on. You can notice a similar change is happening. The blues are changing more into reds and the white is popping a little bit better in that splashing water. Let's accept it and we can take another look at that picture. Yes, I like that a lot better. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to adjust things further. We can always go into the color wheel, this little paintbrush here, and we can make very specific changes. You can mess around with the shadows if you want to bring the darkness way up so that the light is really popping, or maybe you want to bring the lights down so it's a very dark picture, like it's a dark, gloomy day. You're bringing down your different saturation levels. Go ahead and play around with this. There's no right or wrong way. It's your picture. If you want a really saturated image, make it almost look like a cartoon or a painting, that's a great way, the saturation bar here. And then this will adjust your blues to your yellows. So go and play around with these different options. It's a lot of fun just learning all of these different ways to change your picture. Fit, crop, and Ken Burns. Fit, crop, and Ken Burns are all ways to adjust the size of your image in the actual video frame. So the window here shows how much of the frame each clip is taking up. This is a picture. It does not fill out all the way to the sides. This is a vertical picture that I took with my phone. It fills up much less of the sides because your phone is upright. Here is an upright video similar to the upright picture. And then this is my wide video, which fills up the full frame. You can adjust each of these images so all of them take up the full frame if that is what you want to do. Or if you want to switch, I know we're doing different kinds of videos with Instagram and YouTube doing their vertical videos. You can make those adjustments in here as well. So let's go ahead and start with fit. Go up to the top area and click on the crop tool. There are 3 different styles: fit, crop to fill, and Ken Burns, and each of them does different things. Fit is your original picture height and width. This is what you're going to see when you first put your clip into the timeline. It takes the tallest and the widest part and fits them into the frame, and whichever is biggest, it will fill that to the edge. Crop to fill creates a frame for you to fill your whole video frame with, and you can move this up and down, and you can zoom it in and zoom it out. So if you want to capture a specific part here, let's say I want to get just the edge of the clouds here, and I want to get it to around 2/3 of the height of the frame. So there's a good split. That's good for the eye. I'm going to hit that crop to fill button, click the check mark to the right, and it will fill the whole video with that zoomed in portion of the picture. If you ever want to revert this, you can click on the crop tool and hit the reset or go back to fit. Or if you didn't like that area, you can always go in and adjust a different spot. Let's say I want to zoom in on these palm trees. This is kind of like a simplified zoom tool. Keep in mind, if you go into the black area here on the side, that will be included in your zoomed in portion. So be careful where you put your frame. Finally, Ken Burns is a moving zone. You see there are 2 boxes here. There are 2 frames. One of them says start, one of them says end. So if you want to start with the full frame, we're going to hit this zoom out. We're going to make this as large as we can to fit the original dimension here as much as we can. There we go. That's as much of the original picture that we're going to get because we're going to be filling up our frame, our whole video frame with a picture. Then you can click on the end box, and let's say I want to zoom in to this mountain peak. I really want to make an emphasis on this particular point here. When we hit that check and we go to the timeline, you can see as we scroll through, it will zoom in on that picture really nicely. This also works with video clips. They all do the same kinds of functions. Fit is your original picture image fit into the total video frame. Crop to fill takes your video frame and gives you a section to pull from that you can zoom in and out. And Ken Burns, again, creates that moving section. So this would be a fun one to do Ken Burns on because we can go from the top to the bottom of this cloudy mountaintop. Let's see what happens. It almost looks like I'm moving the camera, and in reality, I'm not. It's just the Ken Burns in effect. It makes it appear that I'm moving the camera. And again, for horizontal clips that you may have recorded in landscape, fit is your original size. This will fill up the full frame because it is the full frame size when you're making this video. Crop to fill. If you want to zoom in on a particular spot in this project, let's say we want to see these splashes of water here. And as we go through with our tool, we can see what's going to get captured when I drag my timeline arrow over to the side and back and forth. And then Ken Burns, maybe I want to start there and I want to end looking at the birds that are flying by. So the birds appear around there. So I want this to end up over here to look at these birds flying through. So let's try this out. Let's see what happens. Very nice. Stabilizer. The stabilizer tool is a great way to make your handheld videos scroll more smoothly as if it was sitting on a tripod. So as I'm scrolling here, if you look at the corners of the video, you can see there's a lot of shaky motion. You can see a little bit of the tilting from side to side, and it's just not the smoothest of video. And when we go through the rocks here, we can really see when you're staring at the edges of the rocks where some of that shakiness is. Let's just click it right here. It almost looks like it's scrolling through too fast. It's hard to get a clear picture. And the camera is trying to focus a lot on the water, but we're losing the detail in the rock. So we're going to use the stabilizer tool, which is this camera up in the top with the little shaky waves, stabilization. Here we can see this little slider. It starts on 33%, which is a good number to start with, and we're going to click that stabilize shaky video. Now notice when you click and unclick it, the camera zooms in just a little bit. When it zooms in, you're going to lose some of that shakiness in the corner, and you may see an analyze stabilization word setting at the bottom here. It's going to take some time for the computer to process that video so it can figure out the best calculations on figuring out how much tilt to move, how much zooming in and out, or moving up and down or side to side, and it's going to find the smoothest parts of the video. Now let's try watching some of this again. Again, look at the corners. You're going to see much less shakiness from side to side as we go through. And again, looking at the middle where it scrolls through the water. It's a much smoother pan. Now we can increase the amount of this by sliding the slider. Let's go all the way up to 100%. The more you stabilize it, the more zoomed in your video is going to be, because it needs to find the innermost portion of that video so that it can reduce the amount of movement by reducing the amounts in the corners. Let's watch this from the beginning one more time. Very smooth, very little motion. Let's skip to the middle here. And it really does look like the camera is on a tripod or almost maybe on a drone, and it's just skimming very smoothly, very mechanically through this area. Let's watch it one more time, just this section with the stabilization turned off. And look at the difference here. It's a little more jerky, it's not as smooth. Turning it back on. It's just a very consistent pan. Stabilization is great for making your videos look a little more high quality and for reducing the amount of shaking from holding the camera with your hands.
Speed edits.
Speed edits are awesome. I love making my videos change into slow motion or by skipping through quickly through a video if I want to do more of like a time lapse. To make our speed changes, we're going to scroll up to the top right and hit this little speedometer. This is going to open up a couple different options. You've got your different rates of speed, slow, fast. You have your freeze frame where we will freeze a portion of the video and then it will continue on. And then you can also make some custom changes as well. We also have on the right side a reverse option, a smoothing option, and a preserve pitch option. When you make a change to your speed, it won't change just the video, but also how the audio interacts with the video. So let's go ahead and make this into slow motion, because I want to see this wave that crashes up slow down so we can see this slow motion moment right here. When we clicked this slow, you'll see a new feature here with this time tick-tock thing at the bottom here, and we can change by stretching out our video. This is going to change the whole length of the video. If you make it shorter, you have a little rabbit that pops up, and if you make it longer to last longer, take a slower amount of time, we see a little turtle. That's a good way to keep track. As you move things, you can also notice in the top area
the percentage change, which shows how fast or how slow you're making your video. So let's slow it down. Let's see what this looks like. Definitely moving a lot slower, taking time to get that wave to crash up into the air. To make this move faster, let's skim through this video at 200%. See what this changes. Now notice when you changed the rate of speed, we also changed how the sound interacted with the video. So everything, the water sounded a little bit higher, the wind sounded higher versus our normal sound versus our slow sound. So to prevent these major changes from happening, we can hit the preserve pitch. Listen to the sounds. Here's normal. Here's fast. Here's slow. It's much closer. The deal here is you've got to be careful, especially when there are people talking or you have other identifiable sounds that are maybe a little more obvious when you are listening. So be careful with this preserve pitch button. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. So just play around with it. You can also change the speeds quickly by moving things at 4 times the speed, 8 times the speed, 20 times the speed. And this is about as fast as you want to go. 20 times, that's really moving. Great if you're doing a really long video. The original length of time of this video was 34 seconds, and doing that just then lasts less than a second. So keep that in mind when you're making these changes. You can also do a freeze frame. So if you're trying to make a certain moment, let's say I want to bring attention to the birds that fly through, I'll be like, I'm talking to the video, maybe this is a bird documentary, and I want to freeze the frame right here so I can draw attention to the birds in the corner. Here I can do a freeze frame. And down in the timeline, we see this little stop hand sign. When we are going to go through the movie at normal speed, and then it will do the freeze frame, audio will also stop, and it'll just freeze everything. Frozen. Continue. You can change the length of time that this freeze lasts by dragging that circle icon to the right to make it longer, or to the left to make it shorter. This is an interesting way to make stop time videos if you wanted to consistently stop really action-y moments, like let's say you're recording a sports game and you want to see these moments that just stop and start, stop and start, and draw attention to it as you're talking over the video. A great way to do that is using this freeze frame. And pressing that custom button will just let you type in the number here. It won't give you anything to start with. Reversing clips is a lot of fun too. Let's take this moment where the wave crashes up, and then we're going to split our clip here because I want that wave to go backwards to crash back down. So I'm going to take this video, I'm going to copy and paste it to make a duplicate. I'm going to take the second video, scroll up to my speedometer, my stabilizer, and hit that reverse button. And that is going to reverse the motion of the video. Let's watch it from here and see how it interacts with the video. The audio and the video will both change. So it's a very smooth transition, which is awesome. Next, I'm going to take both of these videos. I'm going to change their speed. We're going to speed them up to make them go by faster, and I'm going to copy and paste them so that I have two happening side by side. Kind of cool. This is great for moments that you want to capture or like make an instant replay if you've captured a sports game. Fun interactions that you can do with this speedometer. And you can mix and match a lot of these things. If you want to take portions of this reversed clip and then slow it down, you can mess around with that. You can mess around with how the different audio effects are working. It's a lot of fun. If you ever need to combine an audio and video source that are from two different areas and you want them to sync up, your speed edit will become your best friend. So pay attention to this area. If you're ever getting into recording on a microphone and on a separate camera and you have to combine them for your video editing. So you'll get a lot of familiarity with this editing tool.
And there you have 10 really easy editing tools for your iMovie projects. If you found this helpful, please give a like below. If you've got any ideas for the next video, suggestions, any questions, put them in the comments and I'll be sure to get to them. Be sure to check out my Instagram, and I've got lots of great projects happening. If you're interested in NFTs, you can watch this video up here. If you're wondering about what we do in the school, I've got a whole project in the cafeteria that I've just finished. Go check out those videos here.